Hi, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. We're very, very excited today to have you here. And just so you know, this is the Institute of Metaphysical Science is what makes all of this available for us to be here and do this with you. You can go to scientificmetaphysics.org, our website, and find out more information and how you can support the Institute. But what I'm really excited about today is that we are going to be talking about a book that we got into, and it's really, really quite great. And it was, I think it's from maybe 2006, I'm not sure, but it's called The Biology of Belief. Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And we're going to be talking about that and metaphysical science because really and truly, this book puts into lay terms in that people can understand the nature of reality and takes it outside of, the thinking that genes control things or that it's your DNA and all of that kind of stuff. It takes it out of that realm, which is really, really fun. And so just to give you a background, if you don't know this book, Bruce Lipton is a former medical school professor and research scientist. And his experiments of other leading edge scientists have examined in great detail the mechanisms by which cells receive and process information. And the implications of this research radically change our understanding of life. So it's really fun. And we're going to be drawing the parallels and showing you how this is where leading scientists are. And it has major implications for who you know yourself to be, who you are in your own living of your world and yourself. So welcome, Betty.
Thank you.
And you excited about this book too, right?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add by the way, the date we picked it up was the revised edition in 2008, although it was originally published in 2005.
Right.
So anyway, but Margaret Laird taught me that I should check out any current literature, books, research work, so on, that discusses the mental nature of existence. And she investigated John Lilly. She investigated, everyone that came on her radar screen and read widely. I remember the whole year that she spent on Castaneda when he came out with all of his writings about research on shamanism in Mexico. Anyway, there are just lots and lots of information available. And when they say it in stuff you can relate to in everyday life, it gives you a new insight into what it is that we're talking about when we say all is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation. I see it in novels. I see it every place. And I want you to really be open to looking at and examining and exploring anything that opens you up to what is this really all about? Who are we? Who am I being? That kind of thing. Thanks.
Yeah. So as we get started in all of this, where do you want to start with this review? Because it's just so fun. We're probably gonna do multiple sessions on this book because it's just so rich in terms of the communication about what he's discovered and how he phrases things and the parallels with metaphysical science. So it's a really fun read as well. So where would you like to start?
Well, I just, when I opened the book, I found there were some quotes. He says, for instance, and I'll read it to you. It is a single cell's awareness of the environment, not its genes, that sets into motion the mechanisms of life. So he's getting right down to the fundamental thing that constitutes the thing I see in the mirror, for heaven's sake.
Right. And that takes me back to what we said last week, which was Fritjof Capra getting to the place that it's all consciousness.
Yeah.
And when he was looking at the building block of all matter, you think that an atom and you get down into the very, very small and people thought they would get to a thing. And what Fritjof Capra, what they got to in the physicists in that realm, the quantum physicists, what they got to is consciousness. And then I'm also reminded there's a great movie out right now on Madame Curie, and I believe it's Amazon Prime. It's on Amazon? I don't. Anyways, Madame Curie, it's excellent, and she's the person who first discovered back when she did that atoms weren't solid, that there was some unpredictable characteristics, that they were more chaotic. And the leading thought at the time was that they were a solid lump of stuff. It was like a solid something. And she's the one who discovered that's not true. And that gave us the energy of atoms, right? That led to the atom bomb, ultimately. It led to X-ray machines. It led to a whole host of things.
The nuclear submarine.
Around radiation, right, and anything nuclear. So because atoms are not a solid lump of things. So that was Madame Curie, or Marie Curie. So there's this, now we're here in present modern world, and here we got Bruce Lipton, and he's saying it is a single cell's awareness of the environment that sets into motion the mechanisms of life. That's
cool. And what he does when he wrote his book, he was disputing the widely held belief that how we behave and what we look like and all that sort of thing was passed down from generation to generation by genes. And he says not true at all, not provable, not scientifically valid. And he's won the day with that. People now understand exactly what he's talking about. But he said it isn't that, it's the cells that are aware. And their awareness makes the difference in the experience you have called everyday living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
He has a quote somewhere in here, which I'm not sure I can find at the moment, but he says the atom has no physical properties.
Right. Because it's all just energy.
Yeah, it's all energy, and it's in motion, and it's non-physical. Mm-hmm. And it supports every life experience that exists.
Everything in language.
Yeah. Well, language with or without language.
Right. And it's showing up, and our world shows up the only way we can see it, which if everything's energy, if it's all atoms, when you get down to it in this macro world, then, and everything's just motion, then that calls into question a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the experience of you and I talking on this Facebook exchange is really an energy experience. It's an event of energy, self-discovering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. So shall we go to the next quote that you had?
Sure.
Which is, our perceptions of life shape our biology. Yeah. So talk about that, like biology. That's like my makeup in my cells. That's like the things that make this thing called Kim up. That's biology. So if my perceptions of life shape my biology, what does that mean?
Well, perception is another word for your awareness. Mm-hmm. And he talks about the difference it makes to have cells happy. And when he discovered in his own research that his cells made a difference, whether they were happy or not, he said he started smiling more. He started looking at things a little more positively. He made it a point of being outwardly more happy. And he said he went into a restaurant to have a cup of coffee. And the lady walked up to him and she said, "My dear, you are the happiest man I've seen in days." And he said, "Good." He says, "You can smile now." You know, they had a conversation about it. But it was more than just a casual thing with him. He said when he went to school, he's a medical doctor, and he taught biology in medical school. But anyway, he said when he went to school, all of the any indication that things were mental, that what you thought made a difference in how you behaved, how you felt, what you did, he said that was all poo-pooed. It was like it was cast in concrete, and there was nothing you could do to shift it or change it or anything. And your behavior didn't influence who you were. There you are, stuck with who you are, and that's it. And he says that went out the window when he discovered that, in fact, everything that Einstein had said in the introduction of quantum physics, energy equals mc squared, it's mass times the speed of light squared. He said absolutely shifted everything for him when he discovered that that was actually a fact.
Right.
And if you can begin to see that there is an energy way beyond anything you think of in the terms of physical strength, but an energy, a universal, vibrant energy constituting you and everything that you are and everything you have and everything you do. And he said, when you discover that, all those other laws that we've been following religiously for a long time go right out the window. Right. And he said what he's waiting for now is to see a revolution in the field of medical science.
Right.
Because it's time they left the Newtonian beliefs behind and got on board with quantum physics.
Yeah. And if you think about this and the implications in your own living, in the world you walk through, there's nothing solid. If your perceptions shape biology, if your perceptions shape the physical world, then
they shape your experience of it.
That's right. They shape your experience of what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. And you're only seeing your view of the one reality that's present. Yeah. So your view would shift. Your view can shift on a dime. So when you're looking at when you're faced with your circumstances, isn't it interesting? And where does it put you in relationship to victim or cause or whatever? Where does it put you on that spectrum when you're living in your life, when you realize that this is the thing at play here, that there isn't anything solid like that?
Yep. I don't know whether it was Bohm or some other physicist. I think it was Bohm. But anyway, that brought out that there is nothing to observe until there is an observer.
Right.
So we do, in fact, make the world we walk through.
Right. Well, that reminds me.
We're the observer for ourselves.
Right. And that reminds me of the joke that was about the baseball. And if you have a junior umpire, let's see, a junior umpire who says, well, I call them, how do you know if it's a ball or a strike? Well, I call them like they are. And then you get up to the senior umpire who says, I call them like I see them. And then you get up to the head umpire who says, it ain't nothing till I call it.
That's right.
And that's where we are in our life. We are the head umpire in our life. It ain't nothing till you call it.
That's right.
And so
you do
what
call
is it
for your life?
Yeah, and you call it, right? So
and you blame it on what you're seeing because you aren't smart enough to pick up that, hey, that's me seeing that.
Right. That's why I have fun saying from your mouth to God's ear is about 4 inches. Right. But this gets at metaphysical science and the viewpoint that all is infinite mind and it's infinite manifestation.
Yep.
Right. All is
that's
infinite
fundamental.
Mind. Yep. And consciousness is the causative factor.
Yep.
Not all the stuff you see.
The stuff you see is in the past.
Yes.
The generative presence that you are is what generates it.
Right. Right now.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Shall we go to the next one?
So our perceptions of life shape our biology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the next one, the character of our life is based upon how we perceive it. The character of our life. Talk to me about that, the character of our life, the the stuff. Like I used to say that you never really know someone's true character until the chips are down, right? That's a thing. But it's like the character of your life, of our life, is based upon how we perceive our life.
Yeah, and Lipton says about that same statement, he says that science recognizes that the fate and behavior of an organism is directly linked to its character.
Say that again.
To its perception, excuse me. I missed the word. It says science recognizes that the fate and behavior of an organism is directly linked to its perception of the environment.
Okay, so the fate
of
an organism is tied to its perception. Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
How it's going to look, how you're going to feel, what you're going to do. It's all linked to the perception of your environment.
Right.
Who am I being? What's going on? What's real?
Right.
Exactly.
And that reminds me of another joke. and this joke is, well, it's a story. It's not really a joke. It's a story. So there was this kid and he was positive about everything. He was so excited about everything. He was positive about everything. And his parents thought, we got to prepare him for the world. We've got to kind of, calm him down a little bit. He's got to be prepared for when he goes out into the real world. So on his birthday, they gave him a big pile of manure. And they thought that he'll learn that it's not always, that it's not always just rosy, right? And so the little kid runs out there and he's running through and he's in the pile of manure and he's digging through it and all of that. And they said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, with all this manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere.
And he probably had one very soon.
Probably. But it's that. So for those of you who are listening, if you want to type questions, comments, whatever that is, into the chat, do that. I invite you to do that. I know there's a delay, but type away and engage. And if they come up, I'll bring them up and we'll bring them into the conversation. But anyway, so the character of our life is based upon how we perceive it. Say more about that. In the scientific metaphysics or metaphysical science, how do we say that? How do we kind of relate to that? What does that mean?
Well, the character of your life is the way it's put together, the way it occurs, its strengths, its weaknesses, its ups and its downs, all of that. So there's nothing in our human everyday living doesn't relate to perception. It doesn't relate to our awareness. So am I being happy right now? Or am I being mad and angry? Am I blaming someone else for something when I know that I am the one in charge of my life? They're not. If I'm not happy, I have to look to myself. What's going on here? Mm-hmm. It's like that. So it is always life-shifting or life-changing to discover how responsible you really are for everything going on with you. Mm-hmm. We really are the captain of our ship, in those words.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. All right. Anything else on that one? We will go to the next. We are made, and this one is, we are made in the image of God, and we need to put spirit back into the equation when we want to improve our physical and mental health.
Yeah, well, that's what we're taught from the Genesis in the Bible. God made man in his image and likeness. And without God doing that, nothing was made that was made. Mm-hmm. So I look at myself in the mirror and I think, is he talking about Betty? And heck, I know better than that. But there's a being present. It's just like the atom. It's not physical.
Right.
You can't see it, smell it, taste it, hear it, touch it, but you sure feel it. But that being that's universal, intelligent, perfect, whole, complete, joyous, free. That being that constitutes you is what has Betty occur, what has Kim occur, what has every individual occur. But we put it off on something else, you know. I'm really not responsible for that because it's way over there. Well, that's the way the physical world appears to me. That's not the way it is.
Right.
It just looks that way. And it looks like there's a distance between me sitting here and something going on over there. But actually, the something going on over there doesn't go on until I see it.
Right.
I'm the observer, and I see so much more today because I have the computer, I have television. You know, I have the White House in front of me half the time here on television. I have Europe, I have Asia, I have, you name it. It's all there. And it's like, Betty, you see, couldn't possibly embrace all of that. But being does. And that's the being that has Betty occur.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't blame anything for anything. I have to say, wait a minute, being present is the only generative principle.
Right.
Being present right now is presencing me and you and everything.
Right. And that means I can stop fussing with the picture.
Yep. Well, I can stop fussing with myself about the picture.
Right. Or I can
like it looks.
Or I can go ahead and fuss all I want. Just know there's only one reality present.
You're not going to make a difference with your fuss.
Exactly. So if I know that, I can fuss all I want. Go for it. Right. Have fun in the fuss.
If that turns you on.
That's right. Why not? Right. Okay. Very cool. All right. Our beliefs control our bodies, our minds, and our lives. Now, this reminds me, you know, I'm taking a cryptocurrency class that starts tomorrow. So I was doing all the pre-work. And in here, in one of the final, I had to watch all these different documentaries. And in the final documentary, there was this gal that was in it. And she is looking at mind, really your thoughts, digitizing that, like having that, when you hook up these electrodes, you can actually control objects that have a remote control relationship with that computer. And they actually showed her sitting hooked up and then her saying, and there was this little vehicle that had wheels on it, and her saying, roll, and it, you know, go forward, and it would go forward, and she would say stop, and it would stop. And she wasn't doing anything, but these things were hooked up to her mind, to her brain right here.
Yeah, and then the brain is evidence of what?
Of mind function, of consciousness.
Yeah.
Of I am. But what I'm saying is that there's no me here and something over there.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And so you're starting to see that, like even when we talked about Stephen Hawking a few weeks ago, we were actually looking at the possibility of time travel. And we looked at it in that view. And it's like when you're attached to the look of things, the language, well, time travel might be tough. But when you get who you are from a being perspective, time travel is the snap of a finger. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
So another good one. What do you want to say about this one? That was a lot of fun when I saw this one. I was like, oh my God. And then I was doing all this other work and I thought this all plays into it. Same stuff.
It plays into, as you put it, everything that goes on in your life.
Yeah.
Once you get that there is nothing being done to you or for you,
right?
But everything is you being the thing that's going on.
That's right.
By your being, all being is.
That's right. And Diane Scarola says, so if I appear to have an issue with someone, it's just how I'm living them.
Yes, and it's how you're living yourself.
Yes.
Who am I being that I have somebody out there that I think is trying to bother me or upset me or judge me or whatever?
Right.
if I could leave that alone and say, wait a minute, I am whole and perfect right now because being is the presence that has Diana show up.
Right.
Then nothing touches me that isn't absolutely for my good. And I say, thank you. And on we go.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. So it's our beliefs and that control our bodies and our minds. So you could say at any point in time, what are you believing?
Yeah.
What are you believing about what it is you're observing?
Right.
And then what's the access point to spirit, or what's the access point to love? What's the access point to principle?
It's awareness.
Yeah. And then we're right back.
And awareness occurs out of discovering who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I'm aware that what's actually going on is being in all its magnificence, and I just call it Betty for right now. It's like playing the game in the Monopoly, you know.
Right.
It could be the shoe or the hat. Well, in this game, I'm Betty. And when I see that, then I know that I really am in charge of things going on in my life, that all is infinite mind, the mind that's being me right now, being Betty, and being everything that Betty has going on.
Yeah.
So it's not a big problem. It's more like relax. Everything is fine. All is well.
Yeah.
No matter how it looks. And when it looks the worst, what it is a wake-up call saying, come on, you got to be 100% Betty right now.
Right.
Drop it. Be 100% being right now.
Yeah. And we've got a good question right now from Lita.
Okay.
And that question is, how does the content of this discussion relate to the death of a loved one?
Well, you know, in the words of somebody that was very good on that subject, I will say their job in this belief of themselves is complete and they've moved on. So you allow it to be. And you say, thank you for being around. On we go.
Yeah.
That's a short answer, but pretty accurate.
Yeah.
We are here self-discovering. We are here living ourselves as fully as we can, maximizing every possibility for ourselves. When we're through, we walk on. There's no end and there's no beginning. We've always been and we always will be, and on we go.
Right. And in the energy of all of it, when that comes together and looks the way it looks, and then it goes on and takes another form. So
Yeah,
who knows with that infinite energy that's present and
yeah, and a friend and a teacher of mine said that we should really be glad when somebody moves on, because if they're through, why should we hang on to them? Allow them to be free and allow yourself to be free. If you needed them again, somehow you would get a message.
mm-hmm.
But you know, allow them to be who they have to be, and allow yourself to be free.
Right.
And move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question.
Thank you.
All right. So now we'll move into the next little quote here. Fully conscious mind trumps both nature and nurture.
Mm-hmm.
Say more about that.
Yeah, well, I like to think that the being me right now, for instance, is divine mind. And divine mind, consciously lived, is a power beyond anything called nature and nurture. It's a constitutional element of my being.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be missing anything. I can't be denied anything. I can't get into something I shouldn't. I can't make a mistake. Of course, I don't think you make a mistake anyway, because when you think you've made a mistake, it's probably a wake-up call.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lita came back and she says, thank you for your answer around her question. does that apply to the life of an animal as well?
I think all life moves on.
Yeah.
I don't care whether you call it your wonderful pet dog, cat, bird, whatever. I think every evidence of life is being. And it does what it does and it moves on.
Yeah.
Just like you and I and everybody else.
Yeah. Very fun. So fully conscious mind, how often, what do you think the percentage is that you're fully conscious? And
Well, I would like to think that I, as being, am always fully conscious. Betty wanders around sometimes and wonders what's going on. And I say, have at it.
right. And when you let go and you say, have at it, boom, you're right back present. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't sit around and fuss with what Betty does.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, and then I wake up again and find out that doesn't go anywhere. But really allow yourself to be. Just be generous.
Yeah.
What I do every day is the very best I know to do, and on we go. And when I get a wake-up call, I need the wake-up call. So great, let's have that and keep moving on.
Right.
Let's not jump into it and say, that's not fair. I shouldn't have had that. It's not my turn. I would say, oh, that's the way it looks today? Wow. Okay, on we go.
Right. So I would say, I forgot, went right out of my head. I had a really good.
A lot of times we really try to live ourselves a certain way. We have a picture of how it ought to look, and we know what right is and what wrong is and all that stuff. We know what we prefer. We know how things ought to be. And then I read a really fascinating, I can't even think now who wrote it, but I read something here recently, the last 8 books that I've read. If you live with tradition, you in fact are being run by somebody dead.
Right.
That shook me up a bit because there are a lot of things about tradition I think are very nice.
Right.
Thank you for sharing, Betty. Anyway, when you think about it, just for a minute, when you discover that you really do fall into the trap of how it was done by somebody that was very good at it, and then you want to go do that.
Right.
And you forget all about being yourself.
Right.
And doing it the way somebody else does it, or imitating, or trying to copy doesn't work for you. You
Right.
have to be yourself. There is a unique quality to every individual that nobody can touch. Nobody will ever duplicate. So, get up your courage and be yourself and do it your way and say it your way.
Right.
We talk about all these things and we find it everywhere. But until we say it for ourselves and begin to live it, we don't really know that in fact is what's going on. This is right on. I say these things because I've been living for a long, long time, longer than any of you. And I've had lots of ups and downs and ins and outs. And I want you to know this science has carried me through successfully endless numbers of times. Physical problems, financial problems, relationship problems, educational problems, you name it, I have walked through it. And I have never been let down, not even once. I went through several years of my life kind of, I don't know, cocky. You know how you are when you're in your, I think I was 19, 20 in there somewhere. And you could tell me, but you couldn't tell me much. I knew it all. And I can't tell you, there was no way for me to know some of the things that I ran into growing myself. But I discovered that when I really took responsibility for myself And I really was willing to say, well, this is what it looks like now. So what's the best thing you know to do? And I'd do that. And then I'd say, okay, now we're here. What's the best thing you know to do? And I'd do that. Okay, now we're here. I discovered that I was never at the end of my rope. There was always more rope to go. I discovered that any problem that was there in front of my face resolved itself one way or another, and I walked right on. I had jobs that I liked and didn't like, and at critical times, the most amazing things opened up, and I'd move into that. And I just kept going. And you do make the world you walk through. But you can't do that if you're not willing to be responsible.
Right.
So I had to give up relying on the way my mother did it, what my dad said was right, what my boss said was right, what my kids said was right. And I still go through that. But,
that's what your kids say is right.
Of course, for them. And, and they had to teach me that too. But there is an authority, an integrity in the quality of the being that you are.
Yeah.
And when you can be yourself, self-aware, you've got it made.
Yeah.
You just need to stay with that, allow it to take you on, keep walking forward, don't ever get stuck. Whatever, be like the water. A rock comes up, the water just flows around it and keeps right on going. A mountain shows up, you either fly over it, hike over it, something, but keep moving.
Yeah.
Just know that you're not there by accident, and everything you need, every bit of intelligence, every resource, every possible thing that I can think of is available to you wherever you are at any time, if you can be yourself.
Right.
And it will always carry you through.
Yeah. Which then leads us to our last quote for today's session. Understanding on a scientific level how cells respond to your thoughts and perceptions illuminates the path to personal empowerment.
Yeah, doesn't that say a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
But, understanding, we think of that as something we have to study a lot, and maybe it'll occur. Maybe I'll understand that. And the truth of the matter is, that's not going to happen that way. You may get another little tidbit with all that struggle. But when you really let go of all of that belief system, that you're somebody that needs to understand, that you're somebody that needs to develop and expand, you're not. Perfection present is the being sourcing the thing you call yourself. And when you let that alone, just, here it is. Let it alone. And just trust that what you need to know, one moment by moment by moment, is always present. You are the understanding that is the scientific level.
Mm-hmm.
And every cell called you responds to that presence.
Yeah.
Understanding constitutes you. It's not something you acquire. And when you rely on that understanding, the other belief about understanding doesn't hold a candle.
Right.
And you will find that everything in your daily life, your job, your friends, your relationships, whatever it is, will just resolve itself, be perfectly fine, and on you go, being yourself.
Yep. So with that, I want to say that we're here. This is all part of the Institute of Metaphysical Science. You can go to our site and check it out. I do want to tell you that, and you want to talk about this a little bit, Mom, but we have a course called the Bliss Course. and it explores the ins and outs of daily experience. There's bliss calls. There is a calendar. It's a daily practice kind of thing. And what happens, so you look at it, what happens?
It's our study program.
It's a study program.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to say more about it, Mom? I mean, Betty?
Well, it's a study program that's ongoing, and you sign up for 3 months, and then you renew it for another 3 months, and so on. And it has you do it on your own, actually, in your own home, and on the computer, and then you have a call, like a conference call, and Craig Colvin is the one that facilitates the Bliss program, and he has a wonderful discussion about once every 2 weeks with everybody that's in the group, and you share ideas, and the reports are wonderful from that group.
Right.
And anyway, if you're interested in exploring metaphysics, I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah.
But I have something else I want to say before we finish. Can I have another minute?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so about a week ago, I was watching the funeral for John Lewis, the senator that recently died. And in his funeral, they had a singer called Dottie Peoples. I didn't know about Dottie Peoples, but I heard her. And she sang a song with these words: God may not come when you want him, but he's an all-time God. And I thought that was fabulous, because we think that if we say, oh, this problem is terrible, God's got to do something to help me. Please, God, help me. That kind of stuff. I want you to know that that's a waste of time. It really is no recognition of what's present. The image and likeness of God is what man is. God in action is man. So we don't want to ever split ourselves off as if there were a God over there somewhere, or up there somewhere, or wherever, that could come and help us out. The help that we need anytime, at any time, any place, is the help that's present, having us show up. So what we have to do is be ourselves. Be the image and likeness of God. Be the joy and the freedom and the wholeness that's present when you show up. And believe me, that will carry you through anything. I just said that because when I say, dear God, help me, that's a waste of time, because God is an all-time God, just
Right.
like being yourself is an all-time being. Nothing happens without that being.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. I love that. I remembered that quote, but that was really great. So, all right, you guys. So we will be here on Wednesday next week. I think we're going to dive into another part of this book, The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And I think we're going to dive into another aspect of it and keep exploring that parallel and how that comes together. So I look forward to seeing you then. And that's it. Anything for you, Betty?
Thank you. Great being here.
All right. Till next time.
Bye-bye.